Welcome to another episode of the Long Game podcast. I'm Amy, I'm your guest host today, and I have a very special guest with me here. I've got Jacqui Bijnens. Welcome. I'm really excited to have Jacqui here. She's a role model to me, and I'm sure some of you listeners will feel the same about her after this. Jacqui, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Amy. Congratulations on being our guest host today.
Thank you.
Very happy to have you interview me and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Well, welcome. We'll go straight into it because you have an incredible story and I'm really excited to share that with everyone here today. So, Jacqui, take us back to the beginning. What first drew you into the accounting industry? And for those that don't know, you were in accounting before you transitioned over to being a real estate leader.
Yep.
So what drew you to accounting and finance? And looking back, what values or instincts were already present even back then?
Okay. Well, I knew that starting out with one of the big four accounting firms and becoming a chartered accountant would give me a really good grounding. It also would open up so many opportunities later on. And I really liked that thought of not sort of being narrowed and going down a particular track, but having options throughout the rest of my life, which has been great. So that grounding was really important. And I also, from the accounting aspect, I really wanted to understand businesses and how they worked, not just the numbers, but the key drivers behind businesses, because understanding the numbers and the key drivers is critical to decision making and the final outcome of big decisions. So understanding those numbers is really important. I think also just having that the options that a good grounding open up to you, as I talked about. I remember when I graduated from university, I'd done my Bachelor of Commerce, and my mum said, "The world's your oyster." And it really was. And it's something that I've kept with me throughout my whole life.
Yeah, and it really was. It really was your oyster, Jacqui, because you're from Quirindi and, you grew up, had a wonderful childhood there, and then you went global. So you've worked with firms like Ernst & Young and later you became a partner at Grant Thornton in the UK. So what were those early international experiences like and how did they shape you and your professional career?
Yeah, so I'd started in Sydney with Ernst & Young, and after finishing my professional year qualifications there, so it takes about 4 years by the time you're fully qualified, I went to see one of the partners there and said, "Look, I'm really interested in an overseas secondment." And he said, "Well, okay, where do you want to go? New York, Manchester or London?" And that's how it happened. And I was like, "London, send me to London." So that was in October. By the January, I'd landed in London and started work with Ernst & Young. The opportunity working internationally, it really sets such a high bar. The standards, you learn sort of the process procedure because everything's so big. You've got huge operations, so everything has to be systemized quite well because you've got so many people working in the office. And I guess I just learned that really good foundation. And also that success came down to just being really, success sort of came quietly, being conscientious, doing the job, doing it well, following through, but having drive as well. And those kind of fundamentals early on, I think, sort of set me up for future success. But also I realised, one of the big things I realised working internationally is it doesn't matter where you're from or what school you went to. So there was one stage I was managing a team and one of my team members was a fellow who was probably 2 years older than me and had been to Eton College for his whole life. Eton College, for those who don't know, is where Prince Harry and Prince William go. It's the most prestigious school in the UK. I hate to think what it costs, I don't even know, but it is really prestigious. And all I could think was, this is amazing. I'm here in London and I'm managing someone who went to this school. Suffice to say, he'd never heard of Quirindi High School.
Really?
Yeah. But it was a real eye-opener that if you put put in the hard yards and just be diligent, be conscientious, do the work, then things can turn out quite well for you. There were probably other aspects to that as well that I think you asked what helped with my success.
Yeah. What shaped you?
And that was really around, whilst I did the job, which was I was in what was called transaction services. So you were out at different businesses all the time doing due diligence on companies, really understanding their financials, but also all the other aspects of the business, the market, their IT systems, their operations. You had the whole aspect. I think that's what probably set me apart, is that I worked very collaboratively with other teams in the firm. So I didn't just sort of go, well, the finances are my bit, I'm just focusing on the finances. I would get involved with the IT team to understand what they were doing, the operations team to understand they were looking at the market and operations. So I was quite collaborative in bringing them on board. I mean, they had to do their job anyway, but often people would sort of go, oh, that's their job. But someone had to pull it all together.
Yeah.
And I liked kind of taking that view. And I also liked getting involved with the team. So quite quickly over in the UK, I became a team leader of our transaction services team, because I was interested in just people and their development and how they were progressing through the team.
Which would have really helped with your position here at PRD today.
Absolutely.
Which we will get to a bit later, but that kind of ties it all together there. Now, becoming a partner in a global firm, particularly in the early 2000s when female representation was limited, it's a significant achievement, really. It's a significant achievement today, and it really would have been back then. What do you think set you apart early in your career to reach that level? And what advice would you give to women today?
Yeah, so it was back in the early 2000s. And I guess I took a bit of a risk. I'm pretty sure most people at PRD wouldn't see me as a risk taker these days, because it's a different, I'm in a different situation. I'm here with the young family. But back then I stepped out. I took an opportunity to go to another firm and to set up and establish a new team, so a new transaction services team. So that involved recruiting a new team, winning new business, working with a few of the existing partners there to establish a new team. So I did have to sort of go outside my comfort zone and go, I'm going to take this risk because I think it will take me further. And it gave me a new challenge. And I loved sort of growing and taking on new challenges. So I think that was a big part of it. To be honest, I didn't focus a lot on the fact that I was female. I just did the work. So it was really just knuckling down, being conscientious, following through, having the drive to succeed. And I think, and with all those other things that I mentioned, sort of looking that little bit broader as to what else is involved in the business, not just the job itself, which was the finance side, but what else do I need to consider to move up? And it's always around people, team, other aspects like the operational side of the business. So I think it was that aspect and just taking that step out and taking that risk.
Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense. You just went, I'm just going to do the work. I can do it just as good as anyone else. So here it is.
Yeah.
So I suppose at this point you were at the top of your career, we'll say, and you were in London working during the global financial crisis. So how did navigating that uncertainty influence your perspective on business, risk, and opportunity?
Yeah, the GFC in London was, massive, like nothing any of us could have predicted in that when we were working. And really it was a total reset for me. So I'd been a partner now for a few years. I guess I'd kind of then been looking around going, well, I've made it. This is good. GFC happened because I was working in that corporate finance transaction world. All of that fell away. So, so they had to be redundancies. They were offering voluntary redundancies, and I'd been in the UK for 12 years, which is a long time to be away from home. I managed to get home fairly regularly, at least once a year, if not more. But and I really took that opportunity as an intentional time out to reset and think, well, what do I want for my future? So it was a very intentional time to accept that voluntary redundancy and to seek some new experiences and see what else was out there for me.
Yeah, wonderful. And you mentioned reset, and it really was a life reset for you. That moment led you to step back and pursue some personal goals. And it was very intentional from you, like you just mentioned. So tell our listeners, what did that year actually involve?
Okay. So I started out and I thought, right, I'm going to at least take a year, work out whether I want to go back to Australia. And going back to Australia in my mind meant settling down, getting another job, settling down. I was hitting late 30s by this stage, so it was probably time. But I thought just take some time out and do some different things and see what I wanted to explore. So I started out with a bit of yoga, went to the Bahamas and did a 6-week yoga teacher training course in the Bahamas. And whilst I was there, they had the Swami, the head honcho of the ashram. He did what was called Vedic astrology. So you can probably see at this point, if anyone's ever heard of phases of identity, it's something that Joe Pane talks about in one of his books, that there are phases of identity throughout our life. I was definitely in the shift of going from the phase of ambition to meaning, because I was questioning, I'd been ambitious all my life and I was questioning, okay, so I'm here, what now? So yoga, of course. And the Swami did something called Vedic astrology, which all sounds a bit woo-woo, but I was there in that space at the time. And he did my reading, which sort of is meant to tell you a bit about your future. And I'd already thought, I've done so much travelling over the 12 years I lived in the UK. I was like, it's time to just do a few more things, settle down. And his reading was, you'll travel far. And I was like, no, mate, I'm
already far. I'm living in the UK.
I'm going home. I'm probably going home. I'm not travelling far, but anyway, whatever you think. So that always sticks with me. After that, I went to France. I was in France for a month doing an intensive French language course. Love to say that I could now speak French, but could for a little while, but that's gone, unfortunately. And I even went off to Greece and did some Reiki and became a Reiki trainer. So, I could conduct Reiki, things like that. So definitely searching for my spiritual side at that time.
Yeah.
Came home to the UK, came home to Australia to spend some time with my family. I think I did some interviews as well. Thought, right, time to get back into accounting. That's where I really got to get back into it. And I just at home on the farm in Crindai out Warra Ridge Way. I thought, no, I'm not ready. There's still more. There's more to do. And I decided I wanted to cycle across Europe before I left Europe, so from London to Budapest. But I didn't have anyone to go with. I thought, well, I don't really want to go on my own. I'm not that brave. So I put an ad on Gumtree. I was like, I still remember sitting at home on the farm, Gumtree, UK. I'd like to cycle across Europe from London to Budapest in the summer and looking for anyone who wants to join me. So I had two people interested, 2 guys were interested.
Gosh, imagine putting that ad out these days.
My mother was great. She knew I was telling her I was doing it, and she was like, oh, okay, all right, well, just at least, can you get their addresses for me or something so that, And I thought, right, well, I've got 2 people interested. I'm heading back to London. I'm going to meet them, vet them just by, having a bit of a catch up and a chat. thought they were all right. Didn't make sure they weren't axe murderers or anything. So they seemed okay to me. So we planned the journey. And a week before we were scheduled to leave, one of the guys called me and he said, I've just been cycling around Richmond Park and there was this guy there with his bike and he saw me with all my panniers and he stopped me and he asked me what we were doing and I told him the story and he said, can I join you? So do you mind if this guy joins the trip? And I was like, no, I haven't had time to meet him and to vet him. Who knows who this guy is? Yeah, I'm not sure about that. And he said, well, he's only going to cycle with us to Cologne and then he's from Belgium, he's going to cycle to Belgium and to go back and to visit his mum. And something about that just made me pause and I thought, if he's going to visit his mum, he's got to be all right. So, yeah, okay.
Yeah, he must be.
He can join. That Belgian is now my husband of 15 years. So I guess it always makes me think that just opening up yourself to new things, it allows that space for new opportunities and wonderful, wonderful things to come into your life, like my husband Etienne.
I love that story so much, Jacqui. And you cycled 12,000 kilometres, is that right?
Yeah, so that trip, so London to Budapest is 2,000, so we did that. But after that, Etienne and I had kind of met and got on during that time and I was back in London and I'd say to him, well, this is actually my time to decide whether I'm moving back to Australia or not. So bad timing that we've met here. And luckily he was also in a bit of that situation. He was ready to do something and we decided to do a much bigger cycle trip. So we planned a 12,000 kilometre cycle trip from the UK to Australia.
Wow.
And we set off on that several months after having completed the Budapest trip. So a bit about that trip. We'd already done Europe. So we started in South Africa. Mm-hmm. We cycled from Cape Town across to Durban. We then flew to India. We landed in Mumbai with our bicycles in Mumbai. And we had to cycle out of Mumbai at about 4 a.m. because Mumbai is a crazy city. If anyone's been there, it's so busy. And I was like, how are we going to cycle out of this city? It's so crazy. So we just left really, really early. And from India, we went into Nepal. In Nepal, we got to Kathmandu. And then we were crossing the border into Tibet. So the most memorable part of this whole journey and probably the most challenging was cycling from Kathmandu, which is about 1,500 metres elevation, up to Everest Base Camp in Tibet, which is at just over 5,000 metres elevation. So you are cycling probably only 30 kilometres a day. We'd been doing 100, 80 to 100 a day. We were cycling uphill nonstop every day to get up to Everest Base Camp in some pretty interesting conditions. It could be really, really cold in the morning, really cold winds. But luckily, China had just decided to build some beautiful new roads in Tibet. So they were opening up a major highway for transportation, and a lot of vehicles weren't yet on those roads. So for some of it, we had some really good roads. There'll be a bit of video you'll be able to see.
It's an extremely strong wind now. We're at the top of the first pass. Behind Jacqui. You see her waving. This is actually the highest point in Tibet that you can do by bicycle. It's been quite tough. Here's Jacqui, the winner. She's going through the gate, around about 5,250 meters. And that's it. After this, it will be a walk in the park.
Here showing what it's like cycling at that altitude and uphill.
Yeah.
And so that sort of, I guess, created some challenges which business-wise, if I reflect on it, how does it change your thoughts? And I think it's very much that if you're setting long-term goals, they're not achieved overnight. They're not achieved through radical changes.
Yeah.
Like that journey, we achieved it just by getting on the bike and cycling each day. And that was it. You just got on and you did it. And
one step at a time.
One step
or
at
one
a time.
cycle at a time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it was great. We loved it.
Yeah, wow, that's a pretty incredible story, Jacqui, and I'm sure our listeners will love listening to that.
Yeah, I think I probably better tell you the ending of that story.
Oh, please
as well.
do. Please do. Before we return back to Australia, let's stay over there.
We'll just finish the ending. So, we got through China into Vietnam and Laos. And Laos, I was suddenly starting to really struggle cycling. I was like, we were doing finally on a few flat bits. No, that was in Thailand. That's right. In getting into Thailand. And it was flat, and we should just be cycling 80, 100 kilometres, no problem, after all the hills we'd done in Tibet and in China and Laos as well. There was heaps of hills. And I was getting like sunburned all of a sudden, and I was tired. And Etienne was like, "Don't you want to do this anymore? Have you had enough?" I'm like, "I'm just really tired. I don't know why." And we found out we found out I was pregnant with our first child. So I'd been cycling for a month or two pregnant and going, this is hard. So that was all confirmed in Bangkok, and we just hung out in Bangkok for a while and decided probably time to call it quits, because we were pretty amazed that this had happened. And we called it quits in Bangkok, and then I think we just flew to Bali to hang out there, and then came back to Australia. So it changed the GFC, and the decision to take
your entire life.
Changed the whole course of my entire life.
It really did. It really did, Jacqui. So after Bali, you've then returned home back to Australia, and I want to know, you've experienced so much in your life and prior to returning home, and you saw so many places and so many incredible things. What really made Australia and Tamworth in particular feel like home?
Well, it is home. Quindi is home. And I was really lucky. Etienne worked with a global company where he could work remotely, or he travelled quite a bit. And I think it just came to the fact that I was pregnant with our first child. I really just wanted to be near my family, and we wanted our kids to have the childhood upbringing that I'd had in country area, and also for my kids to spend time with my mum and dad and to grow up with them. So and I'm forever grateful that my husband was, made that choice. It's a big choice for him to make, to move here and be here. And and it's just worked out so that we've settled back into home. I think home's always home.
Home is home, and family
And
is
family,
also home.
yeah.
And you mentioned that being very important for your kids to grow up with their grandparents and everything like that. And you took some time with the kids, and then you decided to shift gears again.
I did, yeah.
So we've left accounting behind at this point, and you joined PRD as the COO, so Chief Operations Officer.
Yep.
You've been here, I shouldn't say here, I should, because I'm there too, but you've been at PRD for a while, and after such a great, a global career, what drew you to the opportunity to come work at PRD?
Yeah, so yes, I had a couple of years off with the kids. When our second son was about 18 months, I was starting to get that little itchy feet of I need to do something professionally again. However, we were in Tamworth, and I just wasn't quite sure what that was going to be. But an ad came out for an operations director or chief operating officer for a real estate business, and I thought, well, I can do that. Basically, it sounded really interesting. And I met with the then owners, and I guess I may have been a little skeptical to start with, thinking, real estate, not sure. But I met with the owners and I thought, this is a really well-run business, like very professionally run with huge opportunity. And I just felt it was something that I could take on, keep really interested. I knew there'd be new challenges every day, and that I could add some value to.
Yeah, amazing. And I want to shift gears slightly. It's still to do with your career at PRD, but now you've said it's okay for me to ask this. You've been at PRD for over 10 years now, and you started here in your 40s. How has the life stage, including perimenopause, shaped how you lead today?
Perimenopause, menopause. Oh my God, that's something we never discussed in my
No.
earlier career. And there were a few women, not many, but that would have been going through that. But I think because now I'm an X-gen. X-gen were probably the females that were at the time breaking that glass ceiling to get into senior management,
absolutely.
CEO type roles. And so I think now, some of us are going through I like the perimenopause sound better than perimenopause. And we're probably making a bit more noise about it. So you can hear there's a lot more in the media about it and the implications. And I like to think of it more as evolution. I believe every 10
like
years,
that.
every 10 years, we evolve, we grow. And how do people grow? You grow through dealing with problems. There's always problems that we're faced with. And if you take those on, you persevere, you're resilient, you deal with problems, you grow. So menopause there can be some problems. And I would say they're different for everyone. So, but what I've really found is, in leadership, but even as a mom, as a wife, you really need to look after your own health in order to be able to still function really well in those roles. So, and what I've found with this particularly is that you need to be an advocate for yourself. You can't just expect to go to a doctor and say, "Oh, I'm feeling a bit weird," because I'll tell you what, they'll never put it down to menopause. It'll be something else. And you really have to navigate your own way and find what works for you, and whether it's through, and particularly, I've found it's nutrition and different exercise. What worked for you then doesn't work for you now. And you really need to solve the problems and change things up so that you can still feel great, feel vital,
Feel you.
and come into work and be the person that can, that people can still look up to in a leadership position.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly right, Jacqui. I think it's looking after yourself, but like you said, that's different from what it could have been 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So it's learning yourself what makes a difference for you. And no one thing is perfect for the other woman. So
no, that's
I think
absolutely
that's
right.
important, and I think a lot of people will take that and hopefully look into some things.
I mean, do your research. If you get advice from one person and that's not working, there's so much information out there now. And I've found some things that really, really worked. And that's been great.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
That's all right.
Looking back across your global leadership and your extreme level of travel, and now your business leadership here at home, what legacy matters most to you?
Yeah, there's certainly several things. Family, obviously, legacy number one, and kids and husband. And I know that if my kids can have the same love and contentment in their heart that I have when I think about my dad and my mum and with my husband, then that's the legacy I want to leave, that they're thinking of me, remembering me that way. But professionally, certainly my legacy, well, you're sitting right there. I remember recruiting you just 10 years ago, not quite 10 years ago. And although you've had other mentors while you've been in your career, the fact that I was able to give you that opportunity to have the career you've had, that's really important to me. And also with Danielle, who's
Yep.
our property management supervisor and also another partner with Amy and Mark and Justine and myself. She's had definitely grown with me, and
Yeah.
she has developed and changed in so many ways, and just being able to give someone that opportunity and then see them grow has been a wonderful legacy.
Yeah, and I think you've hit the nail on the head there, especially for someone like me, who you did hire me, and you obviously saw something and went, "Yep, let's hire Amy and let's build her through the ranks." And it's an honor to have someone like you pass down your skill set and, I guess, guide us on that path as well. Helping other young professional women build a career for themselves, which is really, really special. So I thank you too, Jacqui.
I still remember that interview, and you were the most composed, confident young woman. I think you were 19.
I was.
You
I
were
was
19.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, she's really got her stuff together, this girl. And then,
I think I even wore a suit.
Yeah.
I don't think people do that anymore.
No. Yeah, I remember wearing a suit to my one in PRD here in Tamworth, and I think it was like, what are you wearing that for? So no, that's wonderful. Some things that I think we might have missed earlier talking about PRD and the opportunity with PRD. So growth was obviously one of the big potential opportunities. I think the previous owners had just started to look into the acquisition of their first rent roll.
Yeah.
And I came on board at the time. That was to do the due diligence and then the integration of that rent roll, which effectively doubled our rent roll size. And since then, we've done another large acquisition and brought PRD Liverpool Plains on board. So our team in the period I've been here has grown from it was about 11 people. We're now almost 35 people. Our rent roll has quadrupled in that time. So being involved in that growth story and having the opportunity to become a partner in the business as well was definitely the things that led me to think PRD was the place for my future career.
Yeah, and it's the extra challenges too for you and to continue to grow as well.
And at the same time have the lovely life of bringing my kids up where I want to be able to bring them up.
Yeah.
They love the country life, and that's been really important.
Yeah, that's amazing, Jacqui. And I just want to ask, do you have any final thoughts or tips to share with people on taking the next step in their career, or anything else you wanted to touch on?
Yeah, I think what's really to take that next step, just don't wait to be given that promotion or to be told, this is, you can do this. Look at what the person above you is doing. Look at their role and just bit by bit see if you can actually take on some of those roles. Just be the person before you are invited into the position, because credibility builds competence, and competence opens so many opportunities.
That's awesome advice, actually. I might take that myself.
I think you're doing it.
Yeah, I hope so.
Stepping into this role very well.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the Long Game podcast. I really appreciate you having here. I'm sure our listeners will really enjoy listening to your journey and your story as well. And yeah, thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.